Yo, now y'all can hear me. Now y'all can hear me. Now y'all can hear me. Yeah, man. And we live on YouTube as well. We live on YouTube as well, dog. How y'all feeling out there? Y'all good? Y'all good? Y'all good? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Did I hear about the new Kawhi scandal? What? There's new? There's new info on the Kawhi scandal? What? Of course I did, nigga. As we gotta wait for more people to kind of pour in a little bit, a little early on. Tight shit. First of all, I want to let y'all niggas know I fuck with y'all so heavy. I love all the love and support y'all give me. You know, it's a cold world out here, man. Niggas getting in their feelings, dog, over tweets. It's tough. It's tough. It's a damn shame, man. It's a damn shame. Let me see. There's something new that I am trying out right now that I want to see if it actually works. And I think it actually does work. I actually think it does work, which is kind of crazy. Um, Fresh cut. It is a fresh cut. It is a fresh cut. You know what I'm saying? It is a fresh cut. If you are trying to speak on the stage, I'm doing the other type stream. So I am in my own VC on Discord. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind if you really wanted to come up and chat with me and stuff like that. However, we have a good slate of topics to discuss. Shout out to my people over on YouTube as well. Let's not ever forget about you all and the things in which y'all do also. Before I go, I do want to go check over there what's going on over on YouTube as well. Yo, what up? Can I get perms? Oh man. Bro, what in the fuck is going on? What is going on in the YouTube thing? You might have to refresh your update because they made a new changes to the system. Hold on, chat. I don't know why, but there's like no thumbnail on the YouTube video. I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Hold on, chat. All right. What up to my people on YouTube as well? What up to my people on YouTube? All right. Just so y'all know what is on the slate for today, with a bunch of hot topics out the ripsker. I want to, because it's some new stuff that they've done, so I want to see if it actually works. I want to see if it actually works. Hold on, hold on. I want to see. What up with you, good C Diesel? Low finally fixes app. Okay, all right. Is segments and then start. There it is. So as you see, we have the Clippers scandal. We have Adam Silver hates NBA brokies. After that, hold on, wait. Nerd Sesh dropped a video, and T Mac is at it again, dog. He's at it again. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, but first we're gonna start with the Clippers scandal. Start with the Clippers scandal. There's a lot of stuff going on. Steve Ballmer sitting there, rubbing, you know, got his hands on his finger like that. Yeah, that's the new. Actually, that's the new. That's one of the new features. There's a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot going on. All right. For those who are unaware, Pablo Torre dropped a new video as well as some more information coming out. It's actually pretty damning shit too. Pretty damning information out of Pablo Torre's podcast with another episode. But before we get into that, there's also a lot of new information as well that it's popped up on the internet that Pablo and many other people are also responding to in light of some of the new findings that has now emerged. One of the people, there we go. One of the people who, for whatever reason, continuously wants to defend what's going on is Mark Cuban, and I have absolutely, positively no idea why. I have no idea why. So as everything is going and more information is kind of spewing out, Andre Cherney. Oh wait, let me go this way. Andre Cherney, the individual who was on the contract, who signed off on Kawhi's contract, decided to give a lengthy response to a lot of the back and forth that has been going on. I think he said this after the Pablo's podcast. But just quickly, with the many hot takes in the past 10 days about the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, it's been surprising, though maybe it shouldn't be, that until now, no reporting has bothered to reach out to me for the facts about the contract. This is what I told New York Times / The Athletic today. That's interesting to note that no one actually reached out. But Pablo is straight up saying this is fake because they requested an on-camera interview with you via LinkedIn. Interesting. Definitely interesting. However, this is what he had to say. The claim that the contract with Kawhi Leonard was a no-show contract is false. The contract contained 3 pages of extensive obligations that Leonard had to perform, and the contract clearly said that if Leonard did not meet those obligations, aspirations could terminate the contract. The beliefs provision is not unusual in celebrity endorsements, and merely meaning we can't do something like make a vegetarian eat meat as a way of forcing them to break the contract. It doesn't mean you can have a belief of not talking to a camera. Now, I want to be clear. Let's stop there for a second. The reason why it came across as unusual isn't because there was a beliefs clause or provision. The reason why it was kind of odd is because normally you would have to legally outline what those beliefs are. So the idea of like the beliefs can be very ambiguous is not what is set in stone in terms of what someone may or may not do. That is not normal. That's not usual. Even in contracts that I sign, it's not normal or usual for you not to outline what the beliefs are that will prevent someone to not doing something. So let that be clear. So yes, belief clauses or not doing something because of your beliefs is something that's all there. In the months of discussion amongst our executives before signing the sponsorship, I don't remember conversations about the NBA salary cap. I signed the contract shortly before I submitted my resignation, but before I left there were numerous internal conversations about the various things Aspiration was planning to do with Leonard once the 2023 season began, including emails from the marketing team about their plans. In just a week before my last day, I can't speak to what was done or not done after I left or why. Now, let's get into that. Cherney is someone that has conveniently stepped away from this fraudulent company before everything fell apart. So in the attempt to distance himself, he is certainly trying to make it seem as if like he was not a part of these conversations. To be fair, there could be some validity behind that. So I don't want to make it seem as if like that's not the case. However, there are also a bunch of people who made claims that there were no conversations with high execs when signing that contract. That in terms of what you were going to do with Kawhi came all around circumventing not only the cap, but the people who were there who might have asked Kawhi to do something since he is a talent on the team. But I want to be clear, so far none of this is indicting Aspirations for what they're doing. Because the question isn't necessarily did they make Kawhi do something or was he obligated to do anything the question isn't did Kawhi or should Kawhi do anything in pursuit of pushing Aspiration. That just would have made it more difficult to find this. That just would have made it less damning. That just wouldn't have meant that they would have done a much better job of potentially hiding this and not being lazy. That's not what we're asking. We're asking specifically, why is it that you decided to pay Kawhi, especially since he wasn't doing anything? That's what the question is. There were a bunch of other people who were not getting paid, and yet y'all still deemed it priority. So I don't understand this concept. That paragraph. Maybe when you weren't there, he didn't do anything, and y'all were planning on doing it, but nothing still occurred. And we know that he kept paying him because what's left on the balance to pay Kawhi is only $7 million, which is just one more year of his contract. Joe Sandberg is now pleading guilty to criminal acts that were among the reasons that I decided to resign from Aspiration in 2022. This is very important. And that the company eventually went bankrupt. Those now calling our company a fraud are blaming the victims. Along with all our customers and investors, it is those of us who worked who worked at Aspiration and gave years of our lives to its mission, who were hurt most by what Sandberg did. Now I want to be clear, because we're also going to dig further in this. I want to be 100% clear. is it a possibility that people like Steve Ballmer were taken aback? It was nothing but aroused that they got scammed. Well, from some of the new information that's found out, yes, that is also very clear. But the scam that is in question isn't Steve Ballmer putting money into the entity that can then help plant trees. The scam is I gave you some money to do something that I'm not supposed to do, and you didn't go do it. That's what the scam is. He scammed, allegedly, another scam. That's the question. So there's a really high likelihood that, Steve Ballmer got scammed because he gave them money and they didn't do what he was supposed to do with that money. But the question is, what were they supposed to do with the money? Which then brings us to the new video that Pablo has dropped for us, and it's a juicy one. It's a juicy one. It really is. Because in this video, Pablo outlines a new wrinkle in the fold. One that cannot be overlooked, one that is very interesting, and one that really does change a lot of things and forces some more questions. Questions that will definitely have to be asked.
The month is December. The year is 2022. So you may recall that Kawhi Leonard is back from his torn ACL.
December 2022. Remember, what's about to happen now happened after this man decided to resign in 2022. Cherney realized what was happening in 2022 and decided to walk away. What's about to happen next happened after that.
He's now tearing up the Boston Celtics in December of 22. I just need to establish that you may recall that in the last episode we did, I convinced an anonymous source in Aspiration's finance department to go on tape. There was a condition that we use what?
Voice modulation.
Which I granted because of the ongoing parallel investigations by the DOJ and the FBI and the SEC and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, otherwise known as the CFTC, and I want to respect just the sensitivity of the fact that this is a giant national scandal involving one of the richest people on the planet. All of which is to say that for this episode, what we're about to do here involves the product of the vetting and fact-checking and persuading that I spent time doing with another source, who I convinced to separately talk to me about December 2022. And they agreed to the same conditions.
I was a very senior executive in finance. I was also painfully aware of the fact that the contract between Kawhi and Aspiration was to circumvent the salary cap. I, too, brought that up with some of the more senior executives at the firm who were also aware of this fact. And much like many of the very senior executives at Aspiration, I had to spend a lot of time having conversations with some federal agencies about some of what was happening inside of Aspiration.
Now let's pause. As you can see and hear, that is a completely different person. That is not the same person that we've been listening to. The person that you're about to listen to was a person from the other video. This is a totally different video. Before we continue, however, good friend of the show, Rated R Mookie, he decided to drop a comment for us. The Clippers were innocent in all of that. The Kawhi deal with Aspiration, not the team. The contract had real obligations for Kawhi, and the NBA salary cap wasn't even a part of the talks. Aspiration collapsed because Joe Sandberg committed fraud, not because of Kawhi or the Clippers. Let's unravel that at a time, because many people are never actually addressing the questions that people have. No one is saying that the reason why the company failed is because of Steve Ballmer. I am telling you, I believe that Steve was indeed scammed. But not because he put money into the company to plant trees, but because he put money in the company to circumvent the cap. They took his money and did something with it that they were not supposed to do with the money. That's still a scam. Secondly, people keep saying that there was no talks of the NBA salary cap, but now, not one, but two people who worked there said that it was. Not one, but two. Two people are now saying this as well. And if we're supposed to believe that the people who work there are nothing more but innocent victims, which I believe that majority of them are, what is the motive for them to lie about this then? Seriously speaking, what is the motive? But we continue.
So what was December 2022 like inside of Aspiration as you personally experienced it?
A show. December 2022, the company had virtually no income, no pipeline of clients, was really looking like it wasn't going to be able to make payroll.
The ship was sinking. It was just a matter of how long we could hold on.
And we ended up doing 2 rounds of layoffs. The first round was in the first week of December, where a bunch of very high-level executives got laid off. The president, the general counsel, some C-suite. And then the second round of layoffs, which was in the second week of December, was almost 20% of the entire staff. So about 100 people were laid off. I mean, to say it was bleak is almost an understatement.
They're out trying to find money. So when you're a company and your revenues are being outgunned by your expenses, you've got 2 choices. 1, you can lower your expenses, or 2, you can increase your revenues. In the absence of either of those, you got to go 3, and that's going to the capital markets. You can take money off a credit card. That's the crudest way to do it. You can borrow money at those usurious interest rates, or you can go to a bank and try to get a line of credit. You can get a bridge loan from a bank, which is you borrow money to make payroll until your next revenue payment comes, and then you pay that bridge loan back. You can get long-term financing from a bank, sometimes a bank of ill repute, and it just depends what interest rate you pay. So you have to go through all of those options, which I assume Aspiration did.
So they badly...
Hold on, my bad. I did not know that I wasn't spotlit. Hold on, give me a second. Give me 1 second, though. There we go. I should be spotlit now.
He needed money. The people that we talked to, the one news source number 2, is saying that they didn't feel comfortable asking others for money given what they were learning about the company behind the scenes. These are the people, by the way, who cooperated with the federal agencies. Just give people a sense of like who's talking to me. Now, briefly, imagine you're the Clippers. Imagine you're the team that Amin is wearing on his chest in December 22. In September of 21, you will recall vividly, Steve Ballmer had announced Aspiration as the thing on their chest, their jersey patch sponsor, right? The first founding partner of the Intuit Dome. Aspiration agreed to pay, do you remember? More than $300 million to the Clippers in sponsorship money over 23 years. Given what you now heard about December 22, spoiler alert, that didn't exist. What was clear, though, is that inside of Aspiration, according to my 7 sources, as well as Aspiration's internal cash forecast for sponsorship payments, which is a spreadsheet I obtained that you, David, now get to review in your mystery folder there. You can get it.
Now,
Yes.
you have the cash flow of Aspiration?
Now, before we get into this, let's further set the tone of what exactly is occurring. It is December of 2022. This is now, everything that's about to happen is after Cherney, who just came out and spoke about what was going on in within the company. That when he was there, it was such a shit show that not only that we now have learned People were getting laid off and they were desperately scattering, trying to find money. But he started to unravel and reveal some of the fraudulent behavior that was there. And so he decided to step away. That's where we're at right now. That things are starting to unravel. Money is running dry. People are not getting paid. And people are now getting laid off. So much so that Andre Cherney decided, I need to step away from this. Which is the reason why everything that he said in that tweet is effectively irrelevant from what we're about to speak about. Because if what he said is true, he was no longer attached to what is about to happen right now.
It's the cash forecast for sponsorship payments. Don't read it out loud yet. Despite the total financial show enveloping this company, was simple. Hey, KL2 Aspire LLC. David, what is it marked there on the cash forecast that Aspiration was internally using to make its sponsorship payments?
It is marked critical.
Yeah. Because in Kawhi Leonard's 4-year secret endorsement deal with this fraudulent company, which is now on the express train to bankruptcy, Kawhi's $7 million annual salary for doing absolutely nothing needed to be paid quarterly.
Right.
Okay? 4 $1.75 million installments. The first installment, $1.75 million, due in June of 22. The second, $1.75 million installment, due in September. The third, $1.75 million installment, due in December. But Aspiration had a problem. What do you think the problem was about making those payments?
They don't have any cash.
According to this Green Bank's Silicon Valley Bank statements, which I have acquired and confirmed and have in the folder in front of you, when does Aspiration send that first wire to Kawhi Leonard, and how much is it? It is due in June 22. What do you have in front of you there?
July 6, 2022. Wire out to KL2 Aspire LLC, $1.75 million.
Likewise, your folders will include Aspiration's September and October bank statements for your review. You may now look at that. This is when the next $1.75 million is due to be wired. And spoiler alert,
There is no transaction involving KL2 Aspire LLC.
I'm going to do you a favor and tell you that I didn't see that either.
So now what they're saying is that the payment that was due on June was late. That didn't come in through July. There then was supposed to be another payment that was supposed to come in as well. However, you can't find it because it was also late. So these are some of the first payments that are supposed to be paid to Kawhi, and they are already late. Be very mindful that Ballmer had just put $50 million in, and a bunch of other people put a bunch of money in as well. So yes, it certainly seems as if if they weren't able to pay Kawhi his first payment, even if we were to take everything at face value, Ballmer is without a doubt a victim of a scam. What scam is still up for debate, but it definitely seems as if they took his money and kept it pushing.
November. So I just ask you guys to imagine now, what do you think Uncle Dennis or anybody in his shoes would be feeling during this time as this contract was not getting paid and was now running late perpetually?
Well, I'm sure he was very calm and rational and didn't pick up the phone and call them a million times, banging down the door trying to find out where the money is.
Which is all to say that Uncle Dennis was pissed.
But between those months when all of this is missing, so September, October, November, and leading up to December, the actual certainty of the company even existing is up for grabs at that point. But lo and behold, Uncle Dennis gets paid.
December 15th of 2022, $1.75 million.
So now Kawhi, be very much, again, end of 2022, is somehow now getting paid. The company is scrambling. They don't know how to pay their bills. There's no money in this at all. People are getting laid off. Cherney is now realizing what's going on and he stepped away. But out of nowhere, they can make a $1.75 million payment. Interesting.
So this payment was made December 15th, 2022.
Mhm.
When was the 20% of the staff laid off?
The same day.
Oh,
The same day. They were willing to fire people. That's where they're at right now. They were willing to fire people before missing another payment for Kawhi to do what? Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Let that settle in. Friend of the show, Mookie, came back again and said, "Nigga, you keep bringing up salary cap like the Clippers cooked something." But even the people who actually worked on Kawhi's aspiration deal said cap space was never a part of those talks. Yes, because the people who were a part of Kawhi's deal either A, are lying, or B, don't want you to know the truth. The people who were involved in the deal from other people who worked inside of the company claim that they circumvented a bunch of other people and signed that deal without them knowing, without any of the higher executives going through the contract, figuring out if it made sense for the company. And there were a lot of people who were disdained by the simple fact that Kawhi was making that much money. So much so that there's actual emails from Joe Sandberg letting it be known, hey, all this Kawhi business stuff, enough is enough. I don't want to hear no more of it. That was a straight endorsement contract. 3 pages of obligation for Kawhi, and aspiration could cancel if he didn't deliver. The question is, since he didn't deliver, why didn't they cancel it? DG over on YouTube said, "I'm excited for this to be on the low light." Shout out to you, brother DG. Shout out to you. Shout out to you.
you may notice something that I noticed as you scan that, because something happened just 9 days before the wire out to Kawhi's KL2 Aspire LLC for $1.75 million on December 15th.
On December 6th of 2022, a wire in from DEA 88 Investments in the amount of $1,999,999.59.
According to our review of Aspiration's cap table and bank statements, there is no evidence that prior to December 6th, 2022, DEA 88 Investments, LP, had ever invested in Aspiration before, which I also confirmed with my sources, which means that DEA 88 Investments, LP, chose to invest that precise amount while this company was basically sinking into the ocean. And so given all of this, I said to myself, should probably look up the registered agent on file for DEA 88 Investments LP, and it turned out to be a man named Dennis.
Now, before we go into this, I want everybody to understand something. These dates, Kawhi gets paid December 15, 2022. I want you all to also recognize something. Around that exact same time, you know what Kawhi decided to do? Or, I'm sorry, not do? He decided to stop playing basketball. Huh. It's a little stiff. I'm a little stiff. I'm not going to play. Check clears? Oh, man, get basketball again. I'm not only playing basketball, I'm playing some of the most basketball I have ever played in years. Right before, get a little stiff out there. Right knee stiffness. Check clears. Nigga played a bunch of games. Wow. Interesting. That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. It's a coinky dink though. It's nothing more. Nothing more but a big old coinky dink. That's all it is.
Uncle Dennis, a different Dennis.
Another Dennis.
Dennis Wong.
Oh.
Dennis Wong, our different Dennis, is a fascinating character. Not Uncle Dennis, but the Dennis seen breaking ground on Intuit Dome in 2021 in a COVID mask off to the side of Steve Ballmer in this video, which we played in episode 1, no less than 5 feet from Kawhi Leonard. He, in fact, is the Dennis in this other video we have, who is literally in the shadow of Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer in hard hats at the Intuit Dome construction site. There it is.
He's got a jersey?
He's got a jersey and a hard hat with his name on it.
Oh, my God.
What the heck? Hold on.
Feet from Kawhi Leonard. He, in fact, there it is.
He's got it.
Fuck. Hold on, chat.
Here.
We reached the premise of this entire complex aspiration. This has not been reported previously, but Steve Ballmer. Not Uncle Dennis, but the Dennis seen breaking ground on Intuit Dome in 2021 in a COVID mask off to the side of Steve Ballmer in this video, which we played in episode 1, no less than 5 feet from Kawhi Leonard. He, in fact, is the Dennis in this other video we have, who is literally in the shadow of Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer in hard.
Shout out to you, DG, for another $2. I can't watch the full thing because I have ADHD. I guess spoilers. The nigga that we're about to learn about, Dennis Wong, is Steve Ballmer's best friend.
Hats at the Intuit Dome construction site. There it is.
He's got a jersey?
He's got a jersey and a hard hat with his name on it.
Oh, my God.
He, in fact, is the Dennis you can find sitting courtside right next to Steve Ballmer, as in this photograph.
Oh, man.
Dennis J. Wong, our different Dennis, is the vice chairman of the Los Angeles Clippers.
Oh, come on, man.
He is the one and only limited partner, in fact, of the team. This has not been reported previously, but Steve Ballmer, the richest owner in all of sports, by far, has a very strange arrangement with his ownership group. Because the ownership group is Steve Ballmer owning 99%.
Right.
And Dennis J. Wong owning 1%. And that's it.
And that's current.
That is today. Dennis J. Wong is the alternate governor of the Los Angeles Clippers. He is the guy that Steve Ballmer empowers to attend the Board of Governors meeting when Steve Ballmer can't make it.
Can I just repeat it in a way that uses my brain the way it's Rolodexing at the moment? Are you saying that the 1% limited partner of the Los Angeles Clippers, who is the vice chairman of the Clippers, made an independent decision to invest in aspiration for this first time in his own name or his own entity's name, 9 days before Kawhi Leonard got paid when no one else was getting paid?
I am saying that is exactly what happened. And I am also saying that you should probably know that Dennis J. Wong was also Steve Ballmer's college roommate at Harvard in 1975.
So those niggas is like this. Like this. Like this. That's his twin. That's his twin in him. That's really that nigga brother. For dead ass. They go way, way back. 1975 back. A man that has so much money that he could purchase the Clippers 2-3 times over by himself decided that I'm going to give 1% to who? Who? my butter, my twin, my slime, the nigga that had my back since 75, Dennis Wong, who owns a company that not only decided to put money into the company, but put money into a company that's failing so much so that they're losing money, that they cut off people, they fired people, they can't make payments, and it's spiraling so out of control that Andre Cherney decided, as he now has admitted, to walk away. Now, I want other people to also understand something very, 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 very important. That when you make deals like this, when you make decisions like this, we are now entering into legitimate money laundering conversations now. Very legitimate. Because paying $2 million for a company that has raised hundreds of millions of dollars gets you practically nothing. The percentage of stock that you own is effectively nothing. And it's definitely nothing for a company that is earning absolutely nothing. But if you don't believe me, let's hear what the employees have to say.
Really don't understand it, but I must not be a very sophisticated investor. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is the amount that's being invested. That's such a nominal amount if we're talking pure investment, especially in a late stage startup that's in the process of a SPAC or on the outside date of a SPAC or going to SPAC at some point and has already raised in a year earlier $300 million. What does $2 million buy you?
But I did want to know what my second source knew at the time about the different Dennis in question.
I knew the name Dennis Wong because I got 2 texts from this very senior executive at the firm regarding Dennis Wong.
So inside of Aspiration, Dennis Wong's investment was identified as an investment with the Clippers clearly attached as part of the identification.
Yeah, and I do have another text as well. This is from November 13th, 2022. And it says, Wong is Ballmer partner.
How surprising is it that a new investor would put money in December 2022 who had not already clearly been deeply invested into the company?
So it is beyond shocking. And I will tell you, I knew that the board, which is Ibrahim al-Husseini, who's been indicted, and Joe Sandberg, who's been indicted, I knew that they had put money in December to make payroll and make rent and all that material. It is not a rational investment that someone would make. So it is very shocking to me that $2 million was made as an investment by Dennis Wong, who in my text is identified as the Clippers, Steve Ballmer's partner, a week before $1.75 million was paid to Kawhi.
Okay.
What's about to be said are we good? We good? Okay. What's about to be said is very important. It's very important. Because one would argue, hey, how is he supposed to know what's going on in the company at the time in which he invested? Anyone who was investing, especially a large sum of money into a company, is privy to knowing what exactly is happening in said company. And not only are they privy, but it is mandatory to tell people who are investing if the company is defaulting, if it's on the brink of bankruptcy, if it's going against any law, a legal action. Those things are mandatory. And you can best believe that Dennis Wong knew about those things.
So this is where I just got to jump in here to point to yet another document that Pablo Torre finds out has obtained. Because this document is the stock purchase agreement dated December 9th, 2022, made by DEA 88 Investments, LP, and signed by its president, Dennis Wong. Ultimately, giving the Clippers vice chairman and alternate governor and only minority owner of the team, not to mention Steve Ballmer's college roommate, 0.072% of an eventually bankrupt company.
Let him say that again. 0.0, not even a fraction.
72%. Steve Ballmer's college roommate, 0.072% of an eventually bankrupt company. But the big reason I wanted to mention this here is because this contract also very clearly discloses some very important and, for any potential investor or attorney, very alarming facts about Aspiration at this moment in time. For instance, quote, "The company is in default," end quote. Furthermore, quote, "KPMG resigned as the company's independent auditor," end quote. Also, Aspiration, the company in question, is facing significant litigation for millions of dollars, as described here. Not to mention inquiries from government agencies, including FINRA and the SEC. Now, notably, and in corroboration of our second tape source who had told me this previously above, the only other two investors listed in this document who decided to invest alongside Dennis Wong and his $1.99 million in December 2022, as all of this is happening, after being presented with these same alarming disclosures in writing, are Aspiration co-founder Joe Sandberg and Aspiration board member Ibrahim Al-Husseini. The two individuals who have pled guilty to wire fraud this year in federal court.
So, there is no way that he didn't know that the company was going downwards. It was spiraling out of control. Not just losing money, but facing legal action to the tune of over $8 million, and yet he still put $2 million into the company. He still did that. And he did so just a few days before Kawhi got paid. Shout out to Alejandro 305 with a $5 dono on YouTube. He said, "Lo, if you were the commissioner, how would you punish the Clippers?" Ballmer would have to be banned for a bare minimum 2 years. Kawhi's current contract I would void, and they will lose 3 to 4 draft picks. That's how I would ban him. That's how I punish him, excuse me. That's how they would be punished. That's how they'd be punished. Yep. That's how they'd be punished.
What's interesting to me is that when you put money into a startup or into any company, you are told, here is the sources of funds, here's the uses of funds. And you put in $2 million into a company, hey, what are you using it for? Are you paying down debt? Are you using it for payroll? Are you using it for research and development? Are you going to try to cure cancer? What do we got here? It would seem to me that Dennis Wong would not be shocked to hear that his money was being used to pay Kawhi. But it would be interesting to find out, in my head, is did he think that he was putting in money to save the earth? That this was $2 million that was required to keep it going?
That's the part that I'm trying to get at I'm giving you guys the maximum benefit of the doubt. Dennis Wong, who has a daughter that works for the company.
Oh, yeah, his daughter worked for the company as well.
I have to assume, even if the daughter was not in the finance department, she wasn't. She was a project manager. She would still be aware of the general tension in a company. I've worked at places where there was that tension.
President got fired, CEO
Yeah,
turnover, general counsel got fired.
She may be doing her job. She may not be in the office. She may just look every 2 weeks to make sure there's a meager payment coming.
But you don't know what's up, but you know something is up. You know.
It's easy to argue.
Is it rational? Is the question.
Right.
For Dennis J. Wong.
Podcast court. There we go.
To put in, coincidentally, just enough to get the most important employee of the Los Angeles Clippers paid at the scheduled date with just 9 days to go.
Now, what Wachtel has to do is now the Clippers have to explain this one too. They have to explain this investment because the 50, you tied it to 48, 28 plus 20.
And that was months between.
Mm-hmm. I could argue how you did that, but it has to be explained. This one, for certain, has to be explained. And I don't know how he will rationalize it, but he will have to when he meets with Wachtel.
Not only can y'all see? Yeah, y'all can see. It's at least on this end, so y'all can see. Not only do you have to explain that, they now also need to explain the new news that has just recently came out within the past couple of hours of all these things breaking. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer invested in an additional $10 million into company sponsoring Kawhi Leonard. In March of 2023, Los Angeles Clippers owner Steve Ballmer invested almost $10 million into financial technology and sustainable services company Aspiration, according to legal finding reviewed by The Athletic and corroborated by a former Aspiration executive. The previously unreported investment came 18 months after Ballmer's $50 million investment in the firm, now at the heart of an NBA investigation into whether Clippers star Kawhi Leonard made a side deal to circumvent the NBA salary cap. Allegations first reported by Pablo Torre finds out. Huh. Yes, in 20 he made this in Can y'all see? Oh boy. Okay. All right, baby, we're back. I'm gonna reread it again because my goodness. Okay. It's not the Wi-Fi because on my end I can literally see. I can literally see everything. It's not the Wi-Fi. But this is the new news that has just come out hours after all the other stuff that came out today. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer invested an additional $10 million in company sponsoring Kawhi Leonard. Another 10 million. Another 10 million. Another one. In March of 2023, Los Angeles Clippers owner Steve Ballmer invested almost $10 million into financial technology and sustainable service company Aspiration, according to legal findings reviewed by The Athletic and corroborated by a former Aspiration executive. The previous unreported investment came 18 months after Ballmer's $50 million investment in the firm, now at the heart of an NBA investigation into whether Clippers star Kawhi Leonard made a side deal to circumvent the NBA salary cap. See, most of you niggas, and this is why I say before, most of you niggas need to shut the fuck up. Shut up. Andre Cherney running around, oh, no, guys, it's not that big of a deal. I get it, dog. I get it. Ballmer probably laced your pockets as well with a bunch of money to kind of shoot some bail. But see, you've already detached yourself from the company in 2022. You now need to address what was going on in December of 22 and now in March of 2023. See, Cherney, you weren't a part of it. Remember, that's what you said. You have now excused yourself from these convos. Well, now Ballmer and Dennis Wong needs to explain to the masses, why were you investing into a company that was facing litigation? Why? Why? Why would you invest into a company that is sitting there talking about SEC is now looking into it? Why? That makes no sense. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I might be trying to pull off a scam. Because see, Ballmer, when you sat down in front of Ramona Shelburne and you just sat there and said, I got scammed too. I'm a victim as well. I might have been able to shoot you some bail for the first 50 mil, but the 10 mil after that don't make no sense to me. That don't make no sense to me at all. Are you a victim or are you just trying to clean the books? That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense. What up, Jamel? Now, here's the other thing that makes no sense. Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is such an interesting fellow because Mark Cuban is one of these people to where it does not matter what information that you provide for him, he is always going to stand firm on whatever he believes. Remember the argument that Mark Cuban made last week was, hey, why wouldn't if he really did what he did, why wouldn't he just keep putting money into the company to make all this stuff go away? Looks like that's what they did. Looks like that's exactly what they did. That's quite literally what they did, Mark Cuban. And so then when asked about Mark Cuban with the new information that has been provided, does any of this change your thoughts on anything? Mark Cuban, even with the new information, still decided to stay firm on his beliefs and claim that none of this changes any of my thoughts whatsoever. If I can find a clip.
Yeah. Okay.
So one final point on here.
as you mentioned on Pablo's podcast, we kind of talked about that whole thing last week without everything that has since transpired. When you were on Pablo's podcast, you made the comment, if I'm wrong about Ballmer, he's not as smart as I think he is.
Yeah.
With everything that has transpired since, does anything change your stance?
No, not at all. It just makes it stronger. Like when I went on Pablo's podcast, like I said, I spent like maybe 7 minutes reading what was written about what Pablo did, reading the articles about that, because I'd seen all this shit before. And really, like one of my favorite all-time shows is on CNBC, and it's not Shark Tank. It's called American Greed.
American Greed.
American Greed. Right? I love that show because like one of my hobbies when I was in high school was reading about.
I don't think we need to continue to look into that. You're telling me new information was provided to you, information to the tune that literally aligns with the idea of what you were claiming that he should have done to get away with it. He actually did that fucking thing. And you're telling me it's somehow stronger? That makes no sense. The thing that you claim that he should have done to prevent himself from getting found out, he potentially could have actually done the thing. But now all of a sudden, no. Before I got on the podcast, I 7 minutes. 7 minutes of what? 7 minutes of what? The original podcast was over an hour long. You did 7 minutes of what? You read a few things, clicked a couple of links, and then you got on a podcast and started going back and debating with someone who's been doing it for 7 months? Again, I want to be clear. It takes a special individual to even dare believe anything at bare minimum at this point is not interesting enough to do some hard looking into. But for you to sit there and to say that it further validates and makes your opinion even stronger, brother, at this point, we don't give a fuck, bro. We don't care. Tree Rev over on YouTube said, Cuban defending him because of Dirk's 2014 contract. Dirk was offered the max by the Rockets and Lakers that year, right? How much has Dirk made since retiring? That's interesting. Carson came out and said the Cuban crusade for Ballmer is a puzzling bad PR decision by him. The whole theory doesn't hold up to logic at all and stands in the face of overwhelming evidence pointing to the opposite obvious conclusion. Nobody's buying it. He's just taking his image. He's just taking his image for another owner. Facts. I don't think Mark Cuban has listened to any of the Pablo's Kawhi's episode. Facts. Let's be honest, Mark Cuban is defending Steve Ballmer because he spent 2 decades paying Dirk under the table. Potentially. Also, let's be clear. What Mark is doing right now is also dog whistling to the rest of the NBA players, telling them, hey, come over here. I'll defend all this crazy shit. No, of course. Of course. He got scammed. I mean, Ballmer, one of the wealthiest people who've ever touched the planet of this earth, was just so moronic to invest $50 million to this company and then another $10 million into the company after it was already going downhill. Come on, guys. I'll defend that. So you know what I'll do if you sign with the Mavericks. He's not tanking his image. He's actually making it better. Mark Cuban is one of the most identifiable owners in the NBA. If he can put his face out there and let it be known, hey, come on, guys. as clearly obvious these dots are starting to connect themselves to, I am still willing to go out there and just lay it all out. The other thing that I've realized and recognized is that this is probably the biggest reason why NBA players being a part of media is really fucking scary. The amount of NBA players who are just like, he's snitching. Close your fucking lips, you snitch. Really is blowing me away. Really blowing me away. I get it. There it is. Channing Frye. Oh, come on. Channing Frye calls out Pablo Torre for his Kawhi report. First of all, why are you snitching? Who cares? And while they're doing that as well, the thing that I find so fascinating, while they're doing that as well, trying to downplay the work that he's doing, they're also belittling his title from a real journalist to a podcaster. That man did 7 months of real research. To belittling him to just saying he's a podcaster when he's done more journalistic work than 99.9% of the journalists, and I use that terminology very loosely when describing everyone else in the industry. When just a few months prior, Bill Simmons had the audacity to fix his fucking lips and question his work as well. Why do you even care? Says the nigga that literally has made an entire career off of hypothetical trades that never actually happened. Why do you care? Whoop-de-doo! Nigga. There's not a single NBA player that I'm going to trust on this topic because those niggas know, they get money under the table. There's not a single owner that I'm going to care about because I know you niggas also handle it underneath the table. And shout out to Andre Cherny. He came out, he gave his side of the story. However, you let us know that by the end of 2022, you were no longer involved in this. But all the new findings happened after you left. So respectfully, you might have been on the side of trying to do good. You thought you were doing the right thing, and I'll grant you that. But these new findings happened after you were gone. So respectfully, we don't give a fuck. Ballmer, you went in front of a TV and said, once we signed the deals, it was done. It was over with. Was it over, or did you make another investment? Did your good friend Dennis Wong make an investment as well, who's also a representative of the Clippers? The only other one. Interesting. Like I said, if it was up to me, you'd be banned for 2 years. Kawhi's current contract would be voided and cannot play for the Clippers. And you all would lose 3 more draft picks. You would lose 3 draft picks if it was up to me. If it was up to me, that's what would happen. Because at this point, there's too much evidence that's in front of people for it to just be Ballmer was just this gullible multi-billionaire, hundreds of billions of dollars. He's just so gullible. Oh, Steve Ballmer, the gullible, relatable Joe. He just didn't know any better. Can't be that. That cannot be the spin anymore. That can't be. And that's a terrible spin. Fuck. God damn. Now, with that out of the way, we got some more topics to talk about, folks. Next on the plate, we have Adam Silver. Adam Silver having this massive disdain for them brokies, man. Hold on, wait. Can we get it? Can we get it? Can we get it? Save. Hold on. Damn. I don't know why, but it won't let me show the segments no more. Okay, add. Damn, it won't let me do a chat. I don't know why. But Adam Silver hates brokies. Now, I have to say this. We have to stop giving Adam Silver this bail because I ain't gonna lie, I am floored at the things in which I'm actually kind of perplexed at the things in which Adam Silver has done throughout his tenure as a commissioner. It has not been as great as people make it out to be, at all. Literally at all. So for those who do not know, Adam Silver had to address the press with a couple of things, most of which did center around the whole Kawhi Leonard debacle with the Clippers, right? However, he did have a very interesting question that was positioned to him for another episode, one in which that many of us feels needs to be addressed. And in the attempt of addressing said concern, Adam Silver, for whatever reason, opened his mouth and said something so ridiculous that I cannot believe that he even thought it was a good answer. Let me see.
How it is.
Here we go. No, chat. I have the full video. I don't want to do the clip. I want to do the full
of our
video.
findings.
I want to do
third
the full
row in the
video.
middle, Tanya.
Hey, Tanya.
Hey, Tanya Ganguly, New York Times. It's become very expensive to watch the NBA as a fan, not just going to games, but also to, in order to, there's different streaming services you have to subscribe to. Some of the RSNs are expensive. I'm curious if, I know that there are other points of entry for fans to interact with the NBA. There's social media, and a lot of younger fans, that is how they're experiencing the sport. But I wonder what you think, how much you think about that and how that will shape the next generation of fans.
I think about it a lot. I will say, I saw the story your publication ran. You took all the streaming services and added them up and what those costs would be. I will say I look at it a little bit differently because most people can only consume so many games. I just want, by way of one example, in these new media deals, we're going from essentially 15 exposures on broadcast television to 75 now. So, to the extent somebody wants to put little rabbit ears on their television, you can still get, therefore, 75 marquee games, in essence, for free in the marketplace. I'd say in addition to that, and this is an ongoing issue for the league, there's a huge amount of our content that people can essentially consume for free. This is very much a highlights-based sport, so Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you name it, any service, the New York Times for that matter, to the extent that your content is not behind a paid firewall. There's an enormous amount of content out there. YouTube, by another example, that is advertising based, that consumers can consume. I think this is a new world now of streaming media. I think we're paying a lot of attention to that. It was one of the discussions we had with our media partners. I think not just the cost of the games, and I think most people are conditioned to paying a certain amount for high-value content, but also the discovery of those games. Again, I'm a fan of many different sports, and I think we've all had that experience where you're going to Google to find the game you want to watch because the world's changed. It's not just automatically in the place you thought it would be. So, but ultimately, I'll talk about it in terms of reach, and how you reach your consumers. It's interesting because of the disruption in the regional sports network business. I never would have predicted this was coming 10 years ago, but a lot of our local games are moving back to broadcast television. In fact, we have more games on broadcast television locally than we've had any time in recent history. So, we're continuing to look at it, but ultimate answer is we think a lot about it. We know we have mass appeal. We on a global basis, we're literally reaching billions of people, and we don't want to disenfranchise people by working with partners that are creating price points that make it inaccessible to them.
We're going to take one last question.
I want to stop and acknowledge something just briefly. To be fair to Adam Silver, what he stated did not end at the idea of it's a highlight sport. To be fair to him. To be fair. But also there's several things that he said that I cannot imagine to not have been a concern or something that was brought up before they decided to make these deals. You cannot sit here and tell us that a concern of yours was people being priced out when you further diluted where people could find these games with different subscriptions. There's no way you thought that. There's no way that wasn't a conversation. There's no way that discoverability and the difficulties that would come along with it were not legitimate conversations. When again, you decided to dilute and spread out where people can find these games. There is just no way you want me to believe that for most of many of these viewers' lifetime, the way in which they watched basketball was in one of three, if not all three mediums: League Pass, cable TV, broadcast TV. That has been it. To then introduce streaming services such as Amazon Prime and now NBC's Peacock, to believe that that would not make it harder to discover where to find games. Sir, I just don't believe you. I do not believe you. To believe that people would not eventually be priced out, I do not believe you. Because those are more subscriptions that people would not have to pay, that would not have to pay for. Be very mindful that the NBA has already done this. A huge reason why there was a massive dip in viewership, I believe from 2002 to 2003 or 2003 to 2004, is because that's when the TNT deal kicked in and they went from broadcast to cable. And there was a noticeable dip in those numbers. And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of things that Adam Silver now is saying the same thing that David Stern said back then. The question wasn't about how your numbers are doing abroad. The question wasn't about where else could we find these games, because responding with that by saying that it's a highlight sport. As a commissioner of the league that has to come up and defend the dropping of ratings every single year, For you to then diminish the product by saying it's nothing more or it's just a highlight sport, I don't understand how the fuck that is even an adequate answer to come out your lips. But that also allows many of us to know, and quite frankly, it does give us a better understanding of the direction in which the NBA has been moving for the better part of the last 10 years. Nothing more but a highlight sport. You're at a point where you're not even incentivizing people to purchase the ability to watch games, because there's so many other ways to watch the sport. I mean, TikTok, Twitter, consume it on Instagram, YouTube, and all for free, because that's where you would go to watch highlights. Now, here on Playback, what we like to do is make sure that you all understand that it's more than just a highlight sport. So when the NBA season comes back around, which is right around the corner, if you want to enjoy watching full basketball games because you potentially may love the sport more than Adam Silver does, well, come over to playback.tv/Lowe's Room, and you'll be able to enjoy it in ways in which I will make sure you get taken care of. But the way in which Adam Silver answered that question is crazy. Mark Cuban on Adam Silver calling the NBA a highlight league. Quote, Adam definitely whiffed on this one, but I can tell you that unless a lot has changed in the last 20 months, he is one of the people standing up for fans in a room where a lot of owners are not. That's interesting. And that may be true. However, the way in which Adam Silver decides to defend fans may not be adequate. Just because he is the thinnest fat person in a room full of fat people does not mean that he's no longer fat. If you catch my drift. So Adam, I don't know what you've been doing, and I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what you may believe is right or wrong, but what I do know is that was the wrong answer. Quite frankly, it was an embarrassing answer. And in all honesty, regardless of how I may feel about you or many others, I believe that you're more intelligent enough to give that as an answer to that question. That's crazy. We sit here every single year and watch the NBA dump money into some bullshit. Just dump money into some bullshit. Just for them to turn around and fuck us over every single year. Every single year they fuck us over. Every single year. Do you know? Wait, I want to be clear. Remember when Adam Silver knew basketball? Adam Silver, remember? Let me see. No. Adam Silver did a it's like the airless one. Yeah. The things that they put, this shit. It was an airless basketball.
Nice. Touch his ball.
Whoa. Clicked the wrong video. There's like every single year they do something that is new. Like there was a point where they had What is the thing where they have it to where you can sit? It seems as if like you're in the arena where they have like a new perspective, where it seems like you're like at the arena. It's like some like VR. I think they had like they invested into like VR or something like that. Yeah, these things. Look at this shit, baby. Like, nigga, why are you investing into this? Why? You remember this shit? NBA announced a new app with frightening deepfake technology as fans left staggered. And then they would scan you into the game, and then you would do a dunk or something like that. And then this shit right here. Yeah, thank you 2 for 1. Like,
his great-grandfather 3 times scored 100 points in college basketball. 3 versus 3. They had. His uncle Jason Sasser, coached in the CBA, who was a very good player at Texas Tech, All-American. Yep, played for the Spurs and Mavericks and the.
They'll put money into this. They'll dump money into this shit. But if you ask them, hey, can you lower the price of some shit? Can you give us some free games to watch? Mum's the word. Nothing. Thank you. Here's the other one.
Ahmad Rashad, please come out. All right, man. Let's see you. All right. All right, Ahmad. So stand, kind of put your hands down this way a little bit. Right?
Is any of this going to hurt?
No. All right, so this should come up. All right. So now I'm going to walk around you and just scan your body, right?
Yep.
All right. That's an interesting shirt you wore today. Is that the one you're going to wear all morning? Is that?
We're in Utah. The Jazz wear purple.
You used to wear a suit.
So did the Vikings.
All right. This is almost over. All right. Hang in there. I got to step back just to get your full body. All right. Sam, I'm almost done. Almost done. You're up. People see you on the screen. Don't be so nervous.
I'm nervous about you taking a step backwards. That'll be the end of it.
All right. Smile for a second. Yeah. All right. Got it. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right.
Painless.
All right. I got it. All right. So now in the app, you see where the red that's going, you could choose different players.
Yeah.
So then we're going to pick Horton Tucker. And then where Horton Tucker is, so this will be in a live game, you will be inserted into the game. You'll be making all the same movements he was, but it'll look like it's your body.
Does he have my skills?
We'll see.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, so go ahead and roll that. There's that shirt.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
This is the money that they invested in. This is the shit they be invested in, bro. This is what they invest in. This the shit that they be just throwing money around, not giving a fuck about us, bro. They don't care. Making airless basketballs that aren't going anywhere. So, and be very mindful. I don't know where this went. Where's that VR thing? Because somebody put that in the chat, actually. Someone did put the VR thing in the chat. Hold on. This right here. There you go. Thank you.
This could be a 1-6 matchup that we're looking at right now. What is that feeling like when you're in this mode?
Have such little room for error. They have zero room for error. And so that's the part that makes it difficult.
So that's it. So it's so crazy to me. It's so crazy to me that the NBA, y'all had money for years now. Doing nothing but upping the player's salary. NBA dumping money into things that no one actually knows what came out of it. Hey, dump it over here to playback. Man, come on now, dog. Do something with the money, though, that aids the fans' ability to watch the games, to enjoy the games. But somehow the fans, the people who have put this league in the position that it's in right now, is at the bottom of the totem pole of benefiting anything that's happening. Same games, same players, same number of games, all of that. We get less effort in the All-Star game while having a comedian tell All-Star players that they suck. We've seen that you all are invested into VR, airless basketballs, being able to scan somebody into the game, and some Vision Pro stuff, but none of it has actually translated into much of anything. So I just think that, brother, y'all have to do better. You have to do better, because if anything, y'all are putting all of us at a significant disadvantage to help promote and push the league as much as we can as fans. And that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case at all. On to the next topic. What do I have next? The Nerd Sesh video. Nerd Sesh video, man. What up with you, sports fan? What up with you? What up with you? What up with you? Shout out to our good friend Carson. Oh my goodness, what the heck? Shout out to our good friend Carson over at Nerd Sesh. He dropped the video about probably like a day or two ago. I actually thought it was going to be an interesting watch, especially because of the topic at hand and a potential discussion about aesthetics and how aesthetics can really warp people's perspective on the game at large, in particular, how exactly we view certain players. Yeah, 2 for 1, potentially. Another Why Kobe is Overrated video. Sucks! But I do want to hear Carson out.
Much more so than any of the other big 4 American sports, and perhaps more than any other sport on the planet, basketball is inherently artistic. The sport can often produce poetry on the court, which can come in the form of perfectly synergistic team basketball, as 5 individuals merge as one perfectly connected flowing unit, but its beauty can also be highly individualistic. We love one-on-one play. It's tangible as a pure mano-a-mano battle, and it's hugely significant in basketball culture because many of us fans will play more one-on-one on blacktops and in driveways in our lifetimes than we ever do organized official games of 5-on-5. And, of course, it's also just mesmerizing to watch the most skilled one-on-one scorers go to work. There's a unique creative freedom in the sheer number of things they can imagine, much less pull off, with the ball on a string, the perfectly rhythmic dribble combinations, the footwork, balance, and coordination required to create just a sliver of separation from a defender, to then nail a picturesque fadeaway or step back from an incomprehensible angle or distance. There's nothing else quite like it in sports. It's incredibly easy.
We're watching the T-Mac and Gil interview after this. There was a segment that I wanted to watch, so we are watching after this.
Easy to fall in love with, and we as basketball fans are highly emotional creatures. Not every 2-point basket feels the same to us. Some bring us to our feet, and some we just kind of shrug at. But they do all ultimately count the same on the scoreboard. This presents one of the major challenges that many of us fans face in our basketball analysis, the struggle to disentangle our feelings about the beauty of the art that we're watching from the objective reality of effectiveness and impact in what is ultimately more of a science. After all, basketball is not an art form like painting, where there's no such thing as an objective outcome. In basketball, there is a very clear binary objective for each team.
That is a crazy move Luka just did on this nigga. Oh my God.
Team to win. And the goal of each player should be to positively impact his team's chance at winning as much as possible. The ways in which a player can create that impact are innumerable and often decidedly unsexy. Great screening, elite rim deterrence, the ability to get to the...
I don't know if this is going to make the video, but I ain't gonna lie. From one content creator to the next, you kind of have to get to the point a little quicker than this right now.
Free throw line at a high volume, which is usually the most efficient way to score, but perhaps the least appealing to a viewer. These are, of course, just a few examples of the countless assets a basketball player can bring to the table to help his team win, but they aren't all given commensurate value by fans. Take, for example, the way many fans discuss Rudy Gobert, one of the most disliked players of the modern age who was single-handedly responsible for the COVID-19 pandemic. Yet his greatest sin, to most basketball fans, is that he was born with bricks for hands and is basically uncoordinated and unskilled on offense. And yet, he is one of the greatest defenders we've ever seen. 7'1" with a mind-blowing 7'9" wingspan, pairing outstanding physical tools with a genius defensive IQ and pristine technique, making him the most effective rim protector and deterrent of the last decade. That all-time great rim protection value, paired with his elite defensive rebounding, strong post defense, and underrated schematic versatility, has made Gobert so impactful on the defensive end that his teams have been 7 points per 100 possessions better overall with him on the floor throughout his career. A very large number over a very large sample size. That huge margin exists almost entirely because of a massive difference in his team's defensive performance. The offense is basically a wash. Gobert provides positive value in some areas with elite screening and offensive rebounding and efficient play finishing, but is nevertheless very limited. But in spite of his glaring offensive limitations, Gobert has delivered star-level impact for a decade. Some give him his due credit for that, but others deride him as a bum, even going so far as to try to diminish his defense, like this ongoing narrative that Gobert cannot defend in space and gets played off the floor because of it. It's just not true, and you need look no further for proof than his playoff series against the Lakers this very season, when Minnesota deployed a switch-heavy scheme and repeatedly left him to guard LA's best perimeter players on an island to great effect, stagnating the Lakers' offense as Gobert held the big three of LeBron, Luka, and Reeves to under 33% combined shooting when he was their primary defender.
Okay, so you already know I had to stop here. Yes, Rudy Gobert did a really good job in this series, absolutely. However, most of Rudy Gobert's career in the postseason, his inability to defend in space has certainly caused his teams some games. I don't really think that is that much of a surprise. I think he's improved in that aspect. But to use that series where a portion of it LeBron was hurt, Luka was also hurt, and come to find out Reeves was also hurt as well. I don't necessarily know how people want to run and use that as an argument, but sure, okay, sure.
Gobert has had significant playoff issues in certain matchups, but they've all been about his offense. His defense is consistently exceptional. But I believe the reason so many people try to downplay even Gobert's defense is because they loathe watching him with the ball so much, so loathe his lack of skill on offense that they cannot accept his status as an all-time great defender. They cannot fathom that he is nevertheless a very good NBA player. Because Gobert, despite being French, is not an artist. He's just about the furthest thing from it. But he was given tremendous physical tools and possesses the technique and IQ to tremendously impact the game in what many viewers would consider the most boring way possible, which leads to his value being badly underrated by many fans. Contrast Gobert's story to Kyrie Irving, the ultimate aesthetics darling, perhaps the greatest ball handler the game has ever seen, an elite shooter with masterful footwork and balance and creativity with the ball, the man with a bag that makes any basketball fan's mouth water and eyes widen. And there is no question that Kyrie is an excellent NBA player, an extremely versatile scorer, highly effective both on and off ball, and rather efficient for a guard. Plus, he keeps his turnovers low, so he's an excellent offensive player to fit well alongside many other stars. But Kyrie also has his significant limitations. He's always been a mediocre playmaker. He's a mediocre defender. And despite his dazzling finishing skill below the rim, he's never been able to impose himself physically to get to the rim with great volume, where scoring is more efficient and one...
Bro, what am I looking at? I'll even just show y'all. I don't know what. Oh, percentile. Oh. But also, like, the way that this graphic is structured is just hard to read. Yes, Kyrie is nowhere near close to, literally nowhere near close to the player that people make him out to be, just because of aesthetics. I agree with this point so far.
Can collapse the defense to create playmaking opportunities. Nor has he gotten to the free throw line at a high rate or generated three-pointers at a massive volume, which would be two more paths to very efficient offense. So while he wows us all with his otherworldly difficult shot making, Kyrie's impact in many of the unsexy aspects of the game is somewhat lacking, and he doesn't often create easy scoring opportunities for himself or teammates. Accordingly, Kyrie's impact has never stood in the same hollowed ground as his aesthetics. He's improved his teams by a good, not great 3.9 points per 100 possessions in his career, and his teams have consistently posted mediocre results when relying on him as the leading man, due to his aforementioned limitations. As you can see, when Kyrie was a teammate of both LeBron and KD, they were able to lead their teams to almost identical net ratings without Kyrie as they were with him, while the team's net rating plummeted when Kyrie was asked to play without either of them. So again, in no way do I mean to suggest that Kyrie is not a great NBA player, but he is much greater as an artist in the
Jesus, bro. It's not me, Chad. It's playback. It's not me. Let's get through this video real quick.
Whereas whenever Kyrie has been left as the guy without his number one alongside him, he has never been an engine like that. And therefore, he's very rarely been the best.
Let me address this actually. The arguments that people were having about Kyrie and Chris Paul earlier this offseason was by far some of the dumbest arguments I had ever seen in my life. It literally did not make any sense, to the point in which people were trying to boil down the reason why it's a conversation is because Kyrie is better as being a second option, which isn't, there's no actual truth to that. While if you need someone who actually can be the best player on your team, you rather go with Chris Paul. Like, never in my life have I heard someone say that the reason why it's an interesting conversation is because one is better at being the best player than the other one. Like that makes absolutely no sense. Chris Paul, effectively, all the things that Kyrie does, he also does, while also being a better passer, playmaker, and a defender as well. The only thing that he doesn't do is get your dick hard when he puts the ball in between his legs. That's the only thing he doesn't do. But outside of that, everything else he does. Everything else he does.
Player on a team. Chris Paul was an all-time great playmaker, while Kyrie is mediocre there. Chris Paul was a high-impact defender, while Kyrie is mediocre there. And Chris Paul's on-off splits reflect all-time great impact on team performance, putting him behind only the likes of Jokic, KG, LeBron, and Steph this century, while Kyrie's are again good, not great. So with all this laid out there, it would have to seem that if there's any case for Kyrie as the better player, it must rest entirely on a massive edge as a scorer. But these are their career playoff scoring numbers through Chris Paul's age 35 season. A slight edge in volume for Kyrie, a clear efficiency edge for Chris Paul. Overall, very similar. There is clearly no solid argument that Kyrie has been the better, more impactful overall player than Chris Paul. It's not even close. But a lot of fans just prefer Kyrie's style as a scorer. So this is where people want to make the conversation about who was nicer or tougher, which are essentially terms about aesthetics or perceived scoring skill, not effectiveness or impact. Without that changing of the conversation or some disastrous point about how Kyrie has a ring and Chris Paul doesn't, which is the absolute worst kind of oversimplification, but we don't have time to get into the evils of ring culture today, there's literally nothing to stand on for the Kyrie side of the debate. But because Kyrie is such a tough bucket, such an artist, he will always have a cult-like following overrating him. Because we love a tough bucket. We love it when the points come hard, when they require some next level craftiness or difficult shot making to somehow get those points on the board. It's just awe-inspiring. But again, the points count the same regardless of how you get them. That is not to downplay the importance of difficult shot making. The ability to make jump shots against contests from all over the floor with different footwork and counters is very valuable, especially because you can often get to those same shots consistently, even against high-level, tight defenses. That difficult shot-making skill and versatility, for example, is a big reason that Kobe Bryant was able to increase his scoring volume and even slightly improve his efficiency in the playoffs compared to the regular season from 2008 to 2010. That's a rare feat. No, they weren't the most efficient shots, but no defense could keep him from getting to them, and that made his scoring extremely resilient. But still, it is largely because of the aesthetic mystique that comes with those shots, the unparalleled balance, footwork, craft, and tough shot making, that some people significantly overrate Kobe and argue he was a top 3 to 5 player of all time. Because although Kobe could live off the tough stuff in a wildly impressive way, other all-time greats simply created far more advantages. They created much more easy stuff. And generally speaking, it is just better to be able to consistently create easy stuff than harder stuff. Like if you're Shaq and you can bury your opponent under the basket at will, basically every possession, or otherwise eat up double and triple teams deep in the paint as they desperately try to prevent you from doing so, which then creates wide open shots for your teammates, that's just better. You can create very high percentage opportunities at will over and over. Or if you're prime LeBron.
But what happens when you can't do those things no more then? Like what happens when you can't do those things? See, my only issue with what I don't know. I don't know. My only issue with what exactly may actually just start to happen. Oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm saying. Oh my God. My only issue with what potentially is about to be said in this video is that it doesn't get brought up about when it actually did not happen. When they went up against the Spurs and he couldn't just bury niggas underneath the paint and he was shooting sub 50% from the field. Well, what happens then? What happens? Do we just ignore those things? Do we just act as if like those things don't occur? Similar things that happen to Giannis. When Giannis throwing a wall at him, do we just ignore the fact that there's multiple series where his overall production drops? Some of you all are saying pass the ball, and that's fair. But especially at that point in time in NBA history, passing the ball to someone who's doing nothing more but taking a long two still is not producing good enough offense. Now, to be fair, as ZZ said, I should not sit here and try to make claims about Shaq's career based off of a few series against the Spurs, another series against Utah, like two or three series. I probably shouldn't do that. That's fair. But also, people should not blow out of proportion how dominant Shaq was because of 2 or 3 series as well. When he got to just bury Rick Smits and Jason Collins underneath the rim. Because yes, I'm happy that he was able to dominate weak fucking competition. But I don't believe that should by default mean that he is better than everyone else because he dominated weak comp. I don't think that should be the case. But to be fair, I still have Shaq fairly high. I also think Shaq is a better offensive player. He peaked higher than Kobe, so I don't really think that's crazy.
On opportunities at will over and over. Or if you're prime LeBron and you can explode past or go through or finish over any defender on the way to the rim, and you are also an elite passer who can consistently manufacture wide open shots for your teammates as the defense collapses on you, that's just better.
But what happens when you aren't able to do that though? Like in 2007 against the finals, or 2008 against the Celtics, or 2010 against the Celtics, or 2011 against the Dallas Mavericks, or 2013 against the San Antonio Spurs. What happens when you can't do those things? Nigga said, 3 series. I've definitely named more than 3. What happens? Yeah, it's interesting.
If you're Steph Curry and you can spray with elite efficiency from anywhere beyond the three-point line, or pull multiple defenders way out from the basket just because you are a threat to do so on or off ball, which creates wide open shots for your teammates, that's also just better. These are the benefits.
Fair. But what happens when you can't, though? What happens when you meet up against a team that's switching everything and you need to become an elite shot maker? What happens then? See, the only issue I have so far, and I'm not even saying this may even be an issue, to be fair. It's not as if, like, he may not be going down the same path later on in this video. But the problem is that, and it's not to say that any of these players are so limited that Kobe is better than them. I've already said this several times, that all three of those players offensively are better than Kobe. I've said that numerous times. But I also don't think that we should just downplay the significant advantage that one gets, not only for himself, but for his team, when he displays a level of skill set and versatility to the highest order. So much so that even when you're taking an inefficient shot, the opposing team still deems it necessary to come and double you. Think about that. Think about how good you have to be at taking inefficient shots that it still warrants a double team to come.
Benefits of all-time outlier physical advantages.
Real question, how do you feel about LeBron as a playoff performer in the first half of his career? I don't know what first half is. I don't know when first half is for you, where you're stopping. But yeah, around like 2012, 2013, it's not as impressive as people make it out to be. LeBron was definitely a better playoff performer from 2014 onwards, and it's because he got better at taking inefficient shots.
Or, in Steph's case, being the ultimate master of a shot that is simply mathematically weighted to be more valuable. Perhaps there is a lack of poetry in that, but it is the reality. Of course, every great player still does need counters, no matter how great their A-plus trait is, and all of these players had those too. Shaq's paint touch and passing were underrated. LeBron paired his all-time great downhill force with very solid jump shooting and underrated scoring craft, and peak Steph was also an absurdly efficient mid-range shooter, underratedly great finishing guard, and all-time great ball handler. And if we're ranking the superpowers at the core of all of their games, I would take any of those guys' unmatched advantage creation abilities to manufacture hyper-efficient offense over Kobe's ability to get to a 40 to 45% mid-range shot over and over. Still, I don't want to oversimplify things here. Kobe's incredible shot making and ability to utilize it out of pick and roll or isolation or the post, when paired with his great off-ball scoring, made him an extremely versatile scorer who could stress a defense from all over the floor and still demanded loads of defensive attention. So he was a great offensive engine. It's just, he wasn't one of the tier 1 guys in NBA history, and his greatest ability was not the most valuable, while many basketball fans treat it as such. And it's the overvaluing of that very aesthetically pleasing skill set that is the key reason some fans will argue Kobe was the far better scorer than LeBron, which is in turn the reason fans will argue Kobe was the better player than LeBron, even as regular season and playoff scoring volume and efficiency, and even the all-important clutch numbers say otherwise. And LeBron's far superior playmaking, rebounding, and defense make him unquestionably the more impactful player. The reality is that an unjustifiable basketball opinion, such as Kobe was better than LeBron or Kyrie is better than Chris Paul, is inherently dependent on some irrational component. You have to, in some way, shift the conversation away from actual impact on the court, usually by creating a myth. Our hero inspired the most fear in opponents, or he was the most skilled, or he was the most clutch, even if reality contradicts that. But the reason one makes all of these decidedly ambiguous claims is the same. It all boils down to the fact that they like the player more. We are basketball fans, and you're not going to believe this, but that's short for fanatic. Rationality is not often abundant in sports discourse. We are driven by our personal biases, and it's easy to become so deeply enamored with Kobe's fadeaway or Kyrie's handle that objective reality ceases to exist. You like him the most, so you want him to be the best. And you'll work backwards from that point to make whatever haphazard, distorted argument necessary to try to justify it. Again here, we wander into the muddied waters between art and science. Basketball is a beautiful game.
I want to say this because effectively, even with me being combative, I agree with what Carson is saying. However, the only thing I challenge Carson and many people like Carson on as well is that being dismissive of other people's opinions to me is where I have failed in many regards as well. What I believe makes a basketball player better than someone else may not be your reasoning. It just might not be that. And I've grown to accept that many people also feel that way as well. The only thing that I want to make sure it's understood is that you are just consistent in that. That's it. That's it. Just be consistent in the regards. And I think a lot of people are more inconsistent than they are a lot of people are more inconsistent than they are consistent. And I agree with Carson. They tend to work their way backwards. That they just want to find a way for player A to be over player B, and then they'll work and find some reasoning behind it. And normally you can catch the inconsistencies by just asking them to then outline the rest of their top 10 or the rest of their top whatever point guards list. And then from there, you'll kind of come to that conclusion. But the other findings that I continue to stumble across, even throughout my research, has a lot to do with the fact that sometimes numbers should not be taken as absolute. Sometimes numbers should be given the proper context, such as asking Kobe to be this hyper-efficient player when in the triangle offense, he's never going to be that, does not make any sense. Kobe existed at a point of time where spacing was not where it needed to be, where double big lineups existed, where defenses are still allowed to be more physical than they have been in the past couple of years, while also still allowing zone, which wasn't really a thing before 1999. And so he existed in a area of time where functionally he was never going to be able to produce at a high level at the rate of efficiency as a player like a Shaq, like a Ray Allen, or even a Wade or LeBron, because that's not what was asked of him in the offense. The offense was not asked of him to be hyper efficient. It was not asked of him to generate quality looks by getting to the paint. It wasn't asked of him to be someone who could generate a bunch of threes. However, when he did have a coach that eventually challenged him in those regards and put him in a situation to do those things, Kobe, out of nowhere, saw a noticeable improvement in his ability to be more efficient. And he did so at an advanced age. I always pivot to this because it's very important to know that Kobe, at the age of 34 years old, I'm going to try to make this bigger for y'all. Kobe, at the age of 34 years old, had one of his higher field goal percentage seasons, had the highest 2-point percentage of his career, highest effective field goal percentage of his career. And when you break down the numbers in terms of where he was getting his shots at, also efficiency-wise, Kobe in 2013, at the age of 34, was operating at a degree of efficiency that was comparable to what he was doing at the age of 28 and 29. And then when it came to his ability to manifest quality shots consistently at the rim, from 0 to 3 feet from the basket, Kobe was getting to them 21% of the time. 21% right here. That's more than a year before. Before that, tied back to 2010. Before, more than that, and just as much as it was in 2008 when he was 29. And then he was converting those shots at the rim, 0 to 3 feet, at a 69% clip, which was, if you remove the 2014 season where he only played 6 games, That is the highest mark that he had seen in his career since he was 20 years old in 21. Kobe effectively had his best finishing season of his career when he was 34 years old. Now, do you believe, and also with that 40%, 46%, which is from 3 to 10 feet, one of his best marks. 47% from 10 to 16 feet, one of his best marks. 40% on his long twos. I think it's about around, that's his career average. Now, do you believe that Kobe miraculously became a better finisher, a better driver to the basket? Do you believe he became more equipped with finishing at the rim at the ripe age of 34? Or do you believe that he played for a coach in Mike D'Antoni that employed him more as a ball handler on a team that at times ran only one big, that gave him more spacing, that optimized? Yo, can y'all hear me?